Hello folks, Willbrew.com here once again. This time around it's more of the occasional commander. We could say more or less like duel commander, because while it's the same Freyalise take from the pre-constructed box, etc., from the set, in the meantime the Teneb deck is drastically different. Last time it was just absent value, just good cards and those absent colors, but this time around it's more oriented toward duel matches, and it has insane amount of packages for Necrotic combos. So basically, if I get to draw or tutor up Necroticus, I can combo out in so many different ways and get so many funky things going on. But there are also other combos as well, so it's not the only combo package. So it's basically a creature based combo deck now. I know that the build is not very well optimized. There are a lot of things you can do to make the deck much more safe, much smoother. You can leave me some suggestions in the comments below. As for now, let's get it started in here. I really hope that I can play test against some other dual commanders in later times. The Freyalise deck is not actually tuned so much for dual commander. It does have stuff like Skull Clamp and Soul Ring, which I believe are not legal in the dual version. But because it's a pre-constructed deck, which you get in the box, then I think it's more or less fair. Also, this Necrotic Ooze Teneb deck can just draw a bunch of filler creatures, mana dorks, a lot of mana, and some parts of some combos, but nothing in the good order. So that can happen as well. You would see life totals on the screen. I tried my best to keep them live and ticking when things changed, but they're not gonna be as well synced as I would have hoped, but still, it's better to have something, right? Normally I use a app on the phone, but because this match will either happen or not at all, and searching for an appropriate app for a friend's phone took a while, so we have these life totals. Took 2 from the Temple Garden into Arbor Elf and just a forest from his side. We're supposed to start at 30 lives. We'll see in a bit whether we would update that with larger starting life totals or not. But I think in Duel you start with... No, it is 30 lives in Duel Commander. Commune with the Gods, flipping just 1 land, 1 spell, and 3 creatures. Pride Mage is okay. Devoted Druid actually is probably the best option here to take with the Commune, because it accelerates me quite a bit. But I said to go for the land here, which is not that bad. If I have lands, I can do stuff, and I can also recure things off of my graveyard. I suppose I picked up the land simply because I pitched into the bin that spell that I can flashback and choose creatures as a card tap and bring them all back to my hand from the graveyard. Arbrelf on tap Temple to cast Elves of Deep Shadow. From him he played the double land, which forced him to bounce a land back to his hand. Not a very fast draw from him. Not indeed. I think we stick to 20 because mine is a combo deck, and this also gives him a better chance to get back into the game and win. Cycle the Baron more. I suppose that signified that I drew an extra land off the top, and I suppose I didn't need that many. So this is a third land on my part. I don't know where this Terramorphic Expanse came from, sorry for that. Perhaps he had to discard or something. Yeah, maybe he forgot to discard, and we needed to fix that. On his turn, main phase, he casts Harrow. It's the 4, so he gets 2 more lands into play. So he effectively accelerates himself, and Harrow ended up costing not so much for his Temple for this turn. So he gets 2 untap force into play, so he can still cast something this turn. Harrow is not the best ramp spell. It's better used as a mana fix, as a color fix. Not very efficient as a ramp spell. It was used in Invasion block to a good extent, I believe, to fix the colors, because especially in limited, so many decks were 4 or 5 colors, and there were a lot of 3 color decks and standards with Invasion block, I believe. But then Odyssey came around, and then decks didn't have to be so many colors to run enough good cards. Alright. Got a bunch of lands and mana thanks to a couple of mana dorks, so I can do quite a few things here, potentially. But I suppose my draws were kinda light, just mashing with 2 mana dorks, I believe, and casting the Scouginus. Nothing ridiculous here. So he does have a chance. Now he's up to 5 mana thanks to that double land. He could cast his commander here. Get a 1/elf token. But instead he cast a Titania, I believe. He can get back a land. Well, in this situation, I hope he did take the Terramorphic Expanse, because then that will trigger Titania. Okay. Huh. Oh no, he had... Wait. This is interesting. I kinda feel like he played an extra land here. So he got back to Terramorphic with Titania, and I think he used it up. Okay, going to actually higher life totals here. I mean, starting life totals. Longer game, more fun, more interaction. He's supposed to get a 5-3 here if he did what he did, even though that might have been an extra land drop that turn. Definitely makes zero sense with to return a basic forest with Titania, because you want to get that trigger and you want that token, and there are not that many ways to actually trigger it in that deck. There, and I really like just expands Hero, probably something else, but not like a big stack of fetchlands. I think we were just discussing some stuff over here. So now life totals should be correct. I'm thinking whether to use the ooze and the turn and excel into my creatures, but all of them could actually matter. Some are combo pieces, like Devoted Druid and an Offensive in my graveyard. Lay down a Gaoni Township, so I can just gradually pump my team and this way try to not spam, but establish a good board position. We don't see a token, so I'm not sure what exactly happened that turn. Maybe he actually took a forest. He's a casual player, so I can forgive him for making some misplays. He plays just to play. Okay, Titania attacks. I can probably block and need it, but I don't wanna actually use up any of my guys here, especially since I had Condemn in hand to get rid of it. A friend of mine really likes to attack where it makes no sense at all to actually attack. Titania is so valuable here to this board, and Condemn only does something when a creature attacks, so it's not like I had a path to exile. So really unfortunate for him here. With a couple of tokens he would stabilize the board so well. So well. And those tokens are freaking huge. Okay, I ended up using Township end of turn to spread the love into my creatures. So they each get a counter. He has this nasty 3/3 which can actually help him out to spit a bunch of tokens onto the board, and then if he gets some more creatures that synergize with the Elves Tribal, then he could actually get a decent board presence. So I don't want to suicide any of my mana dorks into it, but Ooze can grow bigger than 3/3 for sure, just with a Township, so it makes no sense for him obviously to block it. So he is gonna take the damage. I'm thinking whether to exile anything at all before the damage, because I do have enough mana to exile something from my bean and use township and so on, but I think I decided not to, just to keep my options open, and it's not gonna change the clock so much. It definitely does help to play against a mono-green deck that doesn't have much removal. So the Scavenging is probably gonna do some work. Okay, he cast a commander here. So it's basically a Planeswalker that does few things, and on which, for plus ability, he gets a Land of Elf token, basically. It's not gonna trigger that 3/3 guy. It's the Planeswalker is not an elf. I suppose if it will be like Planeswalker whatever elf, then yeah, sure, but Planeswalkers don't normally have creature types, just the names as their subtype. He gets a token, sure, he has a couple of blockers, but it's not gonna matter so much. You don't see a huge change in life totals here, because he actually gained a bunch of life off of that condemn. I think the amount of life he gained and lost from my attack is more or less the same here. I know we're not very precise and very accurate in this game, but we wanted just to have fun and play stupid cards. So end the turn I cast Sylvan's Shrine to actually draw a bunch of cards. One of my favorite cards in the in casual formats, Skeletal Scrying. Because in those formats you're either at 30 or 40 life, so the life loss does not matter so much, and a lot of the decks have a bunch of life gain sources, so it's quite okay. Card advantage is so important in those formats, because games go so long and so dragged out and so grindy sometimes. Fetched up here. I think it was Evolving Wilds or Terramorphic Expanse or something like that. Having a bunch of fetches does have synergies with this deck. Especially if you would add stuff like Oracle of Mordai, or at least like Courser of Krufix, which is pretty sick, because sometimes you play Krufix, you see land on top, you would be able to crack a fetch, and now that you're not gonna draw lands, or but get something actually relevant. Okay, I cast a Vampire. It's from Mirrodin, from the new Mirrodin block, I believe. 4 mana, 3/3 flying. When any opponent discards, I gain free life. When any creature they have dies, I get to gain free life as well. Also, one of my pet cards. I really think that it's quite strong in multiplayer formats and in dual commander as well. Especially if you have some discard spells. Especially if you get the 5 mana Black-Green Elf from Lorving that makes opponents discard every turn. Pretty sick combination. Pretty sick combination. Not exactly sure what I cast there after that Vampire. I know it's included cast on a Land of Elf, but I think something else been cast here. I cannot quite distinguish. maybe you can get it. Okay, so cast the vampire on 4 mana and the Lanover and something else. How much mana could I have possibly had? For 5, so something on 4 mana. I think if it could have been Weird Harvest for X2. That's my guess. Something like that. He untaps, that's his turn now. Okay, I did look back and figure out what it was that I've cast in addition to that Vampire and the Lanover that turn. That was the Flashback Marauder. Unfortunately, just eating the 1/1 off of him. So on his next turn, he just got another token. And also cast the 4 mana 2/2 that for tap puts a number of counters on the creature where X is the number of counters equal to number of elves he has. He's gonna trigger the other big elf here, get a 1/1 elf token. So next time this thing taps, it's actually gonna add 4 counters to a creature unless he plays more elves and gets more tokens. So this card actually can get out of hand. It's not so powerful in duels, but in multiplayer where things tend to be really stretched out and long and people want to have a board presence instead of actually controlling anybody's plays that much, this guy would tend to stick to the board where people would think that, well, your deck is not super amazing, so let's not kill this guy, let's let this player leave. So there's diplomacy in the conspiracy involved in there. As you can see, I didn't do anything really broken this game, though in these colors, with all those combos, you can definitely make the deck much more proactive. I do have a lot of sweet cards that could have been pretty nice to draw here, to start doing real business here. Definitely, if you add more tutors to the deck, then your deck becomes much smoother. And that is for sure. Things like Knight of Reliquary would be amazing here. Fetching like Strongholds, Gavany Township, whatever, value lands. You could maybe even run the combo with the Dark Depths, although I should check out whether it's legal in Duel Commander. In multiplayer, people have there are more players, so potentially more removal, more blockers, etc. Liliana Vess is quite okay for this style of attack. In Duel, I would definitely add a Liliana of the Whale to this deck. In multiplayer, 3 mana Lily might not be that amazing. Definitely don't like the 4 mana one in this deck, because there's simply not that many swamps. But this one is pretty cool. At worst, it's gonna gain you some life, and tutor up like whatever you want to the top of your deck, and if Liliana fetches you up a couple of cards in a game, then you're probably more than happy with that turnout. It also synergizes with this vampire that I haven't played here. If I make him discards, I'll gain some life in the process. That's not completely irrelevant, though not very important in this game, because all I want to do is to try to actually go off. Don't remember exactly what I tutored up to the top of my deck, but you'd probably see very soon. I really like Weird Harvest in this deck. Even in duels, and especially in multiplayer, it's not that bad to let your opponent fetch a bunch of cool creatures. It is more dangerous in single player version, that's for sure, because you can just allow them to fetch, I don't know, maybe creatures like Restoration Angel plus Kikijiki or something like this, and then if it's late in the game, then you just die if you don't have a removal, etc. But in multiplayer, you're basically making a bunch of players get value, and that means that you're not really how to say, making it imbalanced for somebody. Well, some players' decks might not be super amazing, but the thing is that it kind of balances out in multiplayer, the drawback of the Weird Harvest. Tapping a bunch of mana here, wonder why. I wonder why. Okay, Gavany activation, so adding counters to my team. I suppose I went into attack mode. Okay, not attacking with the ooze because I still want to block with it and potentially defend my Liliana. So attacking just with Sangromancer, I believe that's the name. I think I just nuke away Freyalise so that he doesn't get more, add more stuff to the board, so that he's guy not gonna pump anything to an really enormous size. Five mana, something big is coming up. I think soon I'll have to clarify what it was. While I do remember from the past a lot of the cards in this deck, but some are quite weird. Okay, I'll let you know in a moment what that actually is exactly. So I checked it out, and turns out it's called Creeper Hulk. 5 mana, 5/5. I believe itself it has trample, and then for 2 mana it changes the base power and toughness of the target creature, and it becomes a 5/5 with trample. So basically for 2 mana makes some creature a copy of itself, something like this. Adds another wait, what? So I didn't, oh yeah, he gets a token of the trigger of that free elf. No, that's weird. That's not how it goes. I'm confused. The Creeper Hulk is not an elf. So I suppose I didn't kill Freyalise. No, the life totals would have changed otherwise. Because it tried to actually keep track of them. Even though so many things were going on. Oh, I'm so confused. I'm so confused. I must have killed Freyalise. But then where is this token coming from? The Creeper Hulk is not an elf. Where is it? No, I believe it's not. It's a plant elemental. Something's fishy. Perhaps I relied on my friends, making sure he's reading his own cards, but apparently he didn't, and I should have paid more attention. Well, what else? Let's just say it's a plain chase trigger, where in the play, for each time he misplays, he gets an extra token, or something like this. Because I have a bunch of pretty big guys in play, and I'll continue to grow my team because of Township, so he may need any help he can get. Plus, if he doesn't kill this Liliana of the Vast here, he might be in a bit of a trouble. He only has one mana oh no, he has two actually. Because he has at least, I believe, one Llanowar Elf type token from Freyalise, so he has 2 mana. And then he has this Segregator, what's the name of that creature? With the Magistrate. So he could have attempted to kill Liliana here, which I think should have been pretty important considering how many sweet cards I have in that deck to actually do a lot of somewhat broken things and synergies. MS. Also remember that I still have that Initiate spell with flashback to bring back all cards of the chosen card type back from graveyard to my hands. So I can actually afford to trade off a bunch of creatures here, if I really want to. And I do have Devoted Druid in my bin, which means that if I get to search for Necroticus, then it will act as a hyper mana dork and potentially combo off. Okay, now that's weird. Harvest time. Cast it just for 2 because I essentially just need a Necroticus and a Fauna Shaman. Anything else could be any random creatures. Because basically that's how it works. You just get Necroticus in play, try to get a Fauna Shaman somehow into the bin, and voila, you can do a lot of interesting stuff. One of which involves killing your opponent with a Blood Artist or a Zulaport Cutthroat, and having Skeletal Vampire in play. So what you do is that once you have the Ooze in play for the Shaman in the graveyard, you get to cycle through a bunch of creatures. You get Devoted Druid in your graveyard, then you get Quill Spike in your graveyard. What this means is that you have infinite Ooze and infinite green mana because you tap Ooze for mana, you put a counter on it, then with the Quill Spike ability you remove that -1/1 counter, pump your Ooze, so it's an infinite loop. And once you actually get a Birds of Paradise into the bin, you get infinite mana of any color you want. You get infinite black mana. Then hopefully you draw into some value spell, like that initial spell with flashback. You get a bunch of creatures from your graveyard into your hand. You cycle that stuff through again. Then you get Skeletal Vampire. You cast it, you get a couple of bad tokens. Then for 5 mana you can make from 1 bad token 2, and then you just continue that loop over and over again because you have infinite black mana. And then you also fetch and play in the meantime Blood Artist or Cutthroat, and especially with Blood Artist, I believe, or Cutthroat. Well, the deck runs both anyway. With one of them you can actually drain off anybody. Well, not anybody, every player at the table. So in multiplayer this is a cool sequence allowing you to actually drain off everybody. I think both of them work. I think one says that each player loses 1 and you gain 1, and another one just says target opponent or something like that. But because you get to eat those bats over and over again for as many times as you want, this way you can also kill everybody at the table. And because this is probably one of the least ridiculous combos with the Necroticus, that card is actually on the short list in Duel Commander because it can get really ridiculous, and if you don't kill it then, well, you just die. I suppose it's not that dangerous in multiplayer because once I played with this deck and I just got utterly destroyed because everybody at the table recognized that I can do some broken stuff and I can do some combos, so they really hated me out very quickly and just killed every creature I had and just kept on attacking me and killing my stuff and so on. And I quickly ran out of gas, even though once I did get infinite life, but because we played in such a way that you need to kill your neighbors. If your neighbor kills players, no, your neighbors are your friends, but if you're if you kill the players opposite to you, you win. And same for everybody at the table, so like playing with this kind of star system. So I had like the kitchen things Milari combo assembled, so I had a lot of life, but to actually be able to complete the match in reasonable time, we had those rules, and then some of us won because I couldn't eliminate my opponents like in time. Okay, I'm not going through the chain just yet. He thinks he could do stuff, at least he wants to show that he had some things going on. He's gonna play a giant monster. I'm gonna check in a sec what exactly that creature is. Okay, that creature is called Lifeblood Hydra, so it's an XX creature with a cost of X and triple green. It has trample, it has a bunch of counters on it, and when it dies he gets to draw X cards and gain X life. Pretty good in this format, I suppose, but unfortunately for him he doesn't actually get to do much this game. Because I'm just gonna start the cycle. So tap in the elf for mana for the Fauna Shaman, start filtering guys. So I'm gonna discard Quill Spike, I think. Yeah. So starting the chain. Now oozes can be infinite, and I get infinite green. Fetch the next creature, that's the Birds of Paradise. Or perhaps, no, I think I had to fetch for something else. In order to go through the motions, I needed something to actually get the Fauna Shaman into the graveyard. Yeah, so I get Viserys here, then I eat Fauna Shaman. Now Necrotic can actually be used as Fauna Shaman. Then I get a bunch of mana, then I can flashback that Innistrad spell, put all creatures from the graveyard to hand, or I can just continue cycling if I still had some creatures in my hand. Things like that. So I'm just now, I think, showing him what I can do. There are a bunch of things you can do here. You can fetch up a Thornlink, make the trample, win this way, or you can get a Green Puppet with Devoted Druid and Graveyard. This means I can clean off all of his creatures, so he would have no blockers in play. So I'm showing him, yeah, I get like Cutthroat, then I get Skeletal Vampire, and just drain him away. You can of course add some other sweet combos. You can add like Grizzlebrand to the deck, perhaps get a bit of reanimation going on. I don't remember exactly whether Recurring Nightmare is legal in Duel Commander or not. I'm not expecting to present myself as an expert on Necrotic's base combo deck in Duel Commander, but I hope this video served you as a somewhat helpful introduction to this creature combo based Riancid's commander deck, and now you get an idea of what kind of busted things you could do in this format, especially with some other cards, like I said, Recurring Nightmare, some other tutors and or reanimation spells. You can entomb, get Necrotic Ooze, for example, into your graveyard and reanimate it with whatever you get, or just get it back to your hand with something. As long as Necroticus doesn't get exiled, you can also win without the Ooze, so there are some other combos like Archangel of Finn plus Spike Feeder, things like that. You can add more things, including kitchen things and other things. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Let me know what you think about this combo deck and how would you improve it, and what funny chains you can add to the deck. And I'll see you next time with some other matchup with Occasional Commander, because I started to actually like this format. Until next time, don't forget to subscribe. Goodbye folks.